Hello everyone and welcome to Rollin'-ish. My name is Matt and in this video we're going to cover the Eldritch Invocation options that are available to you when you choose the Warlock class. If you haven't done so already, be sure to check out our Intro to Warlock video. That's going to break down all the things all Warlocks get. And then we have another video called Warlock Otherworldly Patrons, where we talk about the 3 patron options listed in your player's handbook, how to use them as part of your backstory as a player, and how you as a DM could utilize that with your player because you're going to need to roleplay that patron. So in this video, we're going to focus on the Eldritch Invocation options, and think of it like, certain abilities, or a good way to look at it is like Warlock feats that are available to you to choose from when you level up. Just know that some of these options require you to reach a certain level of Warlock before it becomes available to you. Some of the things are as cool as, conjuring elementals to do the fighting for you, or, being able to cast, disguise self or polymorph at will, or, bestowing a curse, or being able to use speak with dead at will. Some of that stuff sounds interesting to you. Awesome. Let's dive in. They are listed in alphabetical order in your player's handbook, not by level. So you're going to notice that some of them might be available to you right away, and some of them might be available to you at certain levels because we're doing this alphabetically. The cool thing about Eldritch Invocations is that when you use them, you can choose your options, but each time you level, you have the option to swap one out because you just gained a new option by meeting the level prerequisites. So maybe you swap out one for the new one that you got, and you interchange them at level ups. So starting with the first one, Agonizing Blast, the prerequisite is just having Eldritch Blast as a cantrip. So this can happen at level 1. When you cast Eldritch Blast, you add your Charisma modifier to the damage it deals on a hit. This is going to lend to the importance of making Charisma your highest ability score as recommended by your player's handbook. Do you have to do that? No, but it makes sense considering that your spell attack bonus and your spell save DC come from your Charisma modifier, as does this. The higher your modifier, the higher the bonus. I would love to have a +4 or a +5 Charisma modifier to then add on to this damage. That's what that's going to do. Armor of Shadows does not have a prerequisite. So where Agonizing Blast, you at least have to have Eldritch Blast prepared. I mean, if you don't have Eldritch Blast prepared as a Warlock, what are you doing? But Armor of Shadows has no prerequisite. This means if you choose it, you can cast Mage Armor on yourself at will without expending a spell slot or material components if you're using the material components rule. That's awesome because the Warlock only has proficiency on light armor, so this could really come in handy to protect yourself. Then you have Ascendant Step. The prerequisite for this is for you to reach 9th level. If you choose Ascendant Step, you can cast Levitate on yourself at will without expending a spell slot or material components. That's awesome. You won't have to levitate, you won't make noise moving, you won't step on the trap because you're literally floating just above the ground. It's not fly, it's levitate. So you'll be able to get yourself off the ground and avoid things like maybe difficult terrain or traps, things like that. Beast Speech has no prerequisites. You could choose it right away at first level. You can cast Speak with Animals at will without expending a spell slot. It's great. So you'll be able to speak with an animal, have it understand you, and you understand it. Beguiling Influence. You gain proficiency in Deception and Persuasion. So if you think about this, if you're interested in taking Beguiling Influence, which there is no prerequisites, you could do it right away at first level, maybe when building your character and you're looking at your proficiencies where you get to pick 2 skills, You avoid deception here if you're going to take that Eldritch Invocation, because you're going to pick it up there. So maybe you pick up a different skill to be proficient with and kind of start maximizing some of those stats. That's up to you. But Beguiling Influence gives you proficiency in Deception and Persuasion. Next, we have Bewitching Whispers. The prerequisite for this is for you to achieve 7th level in Warlock, and by doing so, you can cast Compulsion once using a Warlock spell slot. You can't do so again until you finish a long rest. What is that? Good question. It's got a range of 30 feet. It requires your concentration for a minute. Creatures of your choice that you can see within range and that can hear you must make a wisdom saving throw. A target automatically succeeds on this saving throw if it can't be charmed. On a fail, the target is affected by this spell. Until the spell ends, you can use a bonus action on each of your turns to designate a direction that is horizontal to you. Each affected target must use as much of its movement as possible to move in that direction on its next turn. It can take its action before it moves. After moving in this way, it can make another wisdom saving throw to try and end the effect. A target isn't compelled to move into an obviously deadly hazard, such as a fire or a pit, but it will provoke opportunity attacks to move in the designated direction. In my opinion, that's the reason to take this, is that if you've got a lot of melee fighters in your party and you tend to have, like, maybe you're in the back and you got your fighters all kind of clustered together ahead of you, but maybe one of those enemies comes back towards you, getting them to walk straight at the rest of your party is going to be beneficial, because if they're passing within melee range, they're going to get opportunity attacks. So I feel like that's a good trap, so to speak, to put an enemy in. Outside of that, I don't really see this being that useful. That's just my opinion. Next, we have Book of Ancient Secrets. The prerequisite for this is you getting the Pact of the Tome boon. That is the boon you get from your patron at 3rd level. If you've got Pact of the Tome, you could then choose Book of the Ancient Secrets. You can now inscribe magical rituals into your Book of Shadows. Choose 2 first level spells that you have the ritual tag from any class's spell list. The spells appear in the book and don't count against the number of spells you know. So you can literally look at any class's spell list and choose ritual spells. They have like a little R next to them in D&D Beyond. In your book, they will say ritual next to it. But you can essentially go through any class's spell list and grab 2 first level ritual spells. Okay? And add them, and they don't count against you. You can cast the spells as rituals unless you've learned them by some other means. You can cast a Warlock spell you know as a ritual if it has the ritual tag. On your adventures, you can add other ritual spells to your Book of Secrets. So if you find things like spell scrolls and they happen to be for rituals, that's your cue, DM, to hide some of these in your campaign. You can add them to your book as long as the spell's level is equal to or less than half your Warlock level. Every time you transcribe one of these, it takes 2 hours and it costs you 50 gold. So maybe you do it during a shorter long rest. But yeah, that's Book of Ancient Secrets. Next is the Chains of Carceri, which is like a prison plane. Prerequisite for this is you need to be 15th level Warlock, and you need the Pact of the Chain boon as your patron gift at 3rd level. If you have both, Chains of Carceri will allow you to cast Hold Monster at will, targeting a celestial, fiend, or elemental without expending a spell slot or material components. You need to finish a long rest before you can use this again. On the same creature again. It says that specifically. So you must finish a long rest before you can use this invocation on the same creature again. Can you use it on a different creature? I would say yes, because it specifically says on the same creature. So, so yeah, that's a good one to use. Hold Monster is a great spell. But you got 2 prerequisites there you got to fill. Next, you have Devil's Sight. No prerequisite here. You could take this at first level. You could see normally in the darkness, both magical and non-magical, for a distance of 120 feet. So to me, I don't really necessarily look at this as dark vision. I look at this as you can see normal, not scales of gray like dark vision is described. You can see normally in darkness for 120 feet, both magical and non-magical. That's big, okay? Because if someone casts the spell darkness in an area, your dark vision isn't going to do anything for you there. You can't see through magical darkness with dark vision. But you can with Devil's Sight, and that is crucial for your party. That is worth taking. Okay, that's probably going to be my S tier, my number 1 choice, but that's me. Next, you have Dreadful Word. Prerequisite here is 7th level. You can cast Confusion once using a Warlock spell slot. You can't do so again until you finish a long rest. Confusion is a 4th level spell, requires your concentration for a minute. The range is 90 feet, and it creates a 10-foot radius sphere centered on the point you choose within that 90 feet. Anyone in that 10-foot radius sphere must succeed on a wisdom saving throw when you cast, or they're going to be affected by it. An affected target can't take reactions and must roll a d10 at the start of each of their turns to determine the behavior for that turn. This is a great spell. I'm going to click on it because those d10 rolls, a 1 causes them to use all their movement in a random direction. To determine the direction, roll a d8 and assign a direction to each die face. So typically how you would work that is like you would pick a square, right? And what I usually do as the DM is the square just above it is 1. And I go all the way around clockwise. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Roll my d8. And then that's the direction I'm using my full movement. 2 through 6, the creature doesn't move or take actions on its turn. It does nothing. That's brutal. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 5 numbers on the die. They lose their turn and can't do anything. I love that. 7 and 8. The creature uses its action to make a melee attack against a randomly determined creature within its reach. If there is no creature within its reach, the creature does nothing. So that's a pretty big chunk of the d10 that you're rolling. 9 and 10. The creature can act and move normally. Ugh. So it's balanced. It's balanced in a way. But it only has like a small percentage chance of having the spell be wasted. Okay. Pretty good spell. That is Dreadful Word. Next, you have Eldritch Sight. Eldritch Sight, you can cast Detect Magic at will without expending a spell slot. Concentration, 10 minutes, 30-foot radius from you. You can kind of pick up it. Things glow, kind of like a dark vision sense. I describe it as like a glow of an item or person that has something magical about it. Next, you have Eldritch Spear. Prerequisite for this is you chose Eldritch Blast as a cantrip. When you cast Eldritch Blast, its range is 300 feet. Man, that's cool. That's really cool. Because a lot of the ranged weapons don't even have that kind of range. That's really cool. Eyes of the Runekeeper. You can read all writing. No prerequisite. You just, anything that's written down, doesn't matter the language, the rune, you can read it. That's cool. That's important. Fiendish Vigor. You can cast False Life on yourself at will as a first level spell without expending a spell slot or material components. False Life is pretty cool. You essentially fill yourself with a necromantic facsimile of life. You gain 1d4 plus 4 temporary hit points, and they last for an hour. So that's pretty cool. Okay, Fiendish Vigor. Gaze of Two Minds. You can use your action to touch a willing humanoid and perceive through its senses until the end of your next turn. Ooh. As long as the creature's on the same plane of existence as you, you can use your reaction and on subsequent turns to maintain this connection, extending the duration until the end of your next turn. While perceiving through the other creature's senses, You benefit from any special senses possessed by that creature, and you are blinded and deafened to your own surroundings. So if you're familiar with Game of Thrones, some of the free folk, they could warg. Um, and they see things through, like, one guy had a hawk circling an area and surveying. It's kind of like that. Like, your person is going to go blind and deaf where you stand, because you're now basically assuming the mind and body of another creature, or a willing humanoid in this matter. And you can perceive through its senses. You can hear, smell, see, and any special senses it has. So if they have, like, dark vision, that would help. If they have true sight, that would help. That's pretty cool. Life Drinker is next. Prerequisite is twofold. You have to be a 12th level Warlock, and you have to have the Pact of the Blade boon option at 3rd level. So if you meet both of these, when you hit a creature with your Pact weapon, the creature takes extra necrotic damage equal to your Charisma modifier. Again, another reason to get that Charisma modifier and your Charisma score as high as you can go. Mask of Many Faces, no prerequisite. You can cast Disguise Self at will without expending a spell slot. Master of Myriad Forms, prerequisite. You must be a 15th level Warlock, but you can cast Alter Self at will without expending a spell slot. This is a 2nd level spell. It's an hour of your concentration. You can essentially change your appearance. You assume a different form when you cast the spell. Choose one of the following options, the effect of which lasts for the duration. That's an hour as long as you concentrate. While the spell lasts, you can end one option as an action to gain the benefits of another one. So it's not ending it, it's using your action to maintain but change the form. And the forms here, and I'll click on the spell, Aquatic Adaption. You adapt your body to an aquatic environment, sprouting gills and growing webbing between your fingers. You can breathe underwater and gain a swim speed equal to your walking speed. That is awesome. Okay, especially if there's treasure or loot in water and you got to go get it, or you got to access a very hard to reach cave or something in the water. That's great. Change appearance. You can transform your appearance. You decide what you look like, including your height, weight, facial features, sound of your voice, hair length, coloration, distinguishing characteristics, if any. You can make yourself appear as a member of another race, though none of your statistics change. You also can't appear as a creature of a different size than you, and your basic shape stays the same. If you're bipedal, you can't use this spell to become quadrupedal, for example. At any time during this duration of the spell, you can use your action to change your appearance in this way again. This is interesting. I play a changeling paladin in a campaign where I'm a player, and I have this ability because changelings are derived from doppelgangers, and this is like pretty much the same thing. I use it all the time. It's so beneficial to walk up to guards, to walk up to bad guys and disguise yourself as a member of them and sneak your party past or things like that. It's been so beneficial. This is a great option just for that, let alone the aquatic adaption. What else we got? Natural weapons. You grow claws, fangs, spines, horns, or different natural weapon of your choice. Your unarmed strikes deal a d6 bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing as appropriate with the natural weapon that you choose. And you're proficient with your unarmed strikes, so you can add your proficiency bonus to that d6 roll. That's impressive. Finally, the natural weapon is magic, and you have a +1 bonus to the attack and damage roll you make using it. Okay, so you've got something there to help overcome resistances and immunities. You've got something there that is giving you a magical boost, and it's a natural weapon. So you could do claws, fangs, spines, horns, or a different natural weapon of your choice. Actually, I would just think of the creatures that have this, like maybe I grow a tail and I can whack somebody with it for bludgeoning damage. That would be pretty cool. That, my friends, is the Alter Self spell. You get that when you are Master of Myriad Forms. Okay, you got to be 15th level for that. That's pretty cool. Minions of Chaos, prerequisite is 9th level. You cast Conjure Elemental once using a Warlock spell slot. You can't do so again until you finish a long rest. That's kind of what I mentioned in my little spiel in the beginning. Conjuring elementals to fight for you. Yeah, absolutely. An earth elemental is great. Fire elemental, water elemental, air elemental. Those are the kind of elementals you'll be able to conjure with this spell. It's a 5th level spell. Requires your concentration for an hour. So you can have them fight along with you for an hour, which is cool. Mire the Mind. Prerequisite, you must be a 5th level warlock. If you choose this, you can cast slow once using a warlock spell slot. You can't do so again until you finish a long rest. Slow is great because it imposes a wisdom saving throw on your target. If they fail, the target's speed is halved. They take a -2 penalty to their armor class and dex saving throws. So that could really set up your wizard, your sorcerer, if they want to do an area of effect spell that requires a dex save. This will set that up nicely. And it also can't use reactions. On its turn, it can either use an action or a bonus action, not both. And it can't take more than one melee or ranged attack during its turn, regardless of it having multi-attack, extra attack, and it only take one. This is devastating. To me, it's an underused spell, and it is devastating at 3rd level. It does all those things. It has a range of 120 feet and creates a 40-foot radius. So we're not talking about a target. We're talking about multiple targets in that radius to fall under this effect. To me, this is better than a fireball. This is better than lightning bolt. I would rather do this than a crap ton of damage in one shot. That's just me. That's so detrimental. I think I might take that. That might be S tier for me on this one. I should probably get Rick in here and do a video ranking these things. That would be fun. Misty Visions. You can cast Silent Image at will without expending a spell slot or material components. Silent Image is what it sounds like. It's a small illusionary effect. No prerequisites for this one. That's a good choice. One with the shadows. You must be at least 5th level to choose this. When you are in an area of dim light or darkness, you can use your action to become invisible until you move or take an action or a reaction. So that's a quick invisibility, but where you are. So it'll be good for hiding, because notice it says you become invisible until you move, until you take an action or take a reaction. So it's essentially, you're going to spend your turn becoming invisible to kind of hide. What would you then do as a bonus action? All right, maybe I do that as my action. In my campaign, we homebrew that drinking potions is a bonus action. So maybe if you really want to heal, you can go invisible, drink the potion, and heal a little bit. And then by the time you're on your next turn, you're probably going to move, take an action or a reaction. Or maybe you want to heal again with a bonus action, and maybe that's all you do. You're just going to lay low and hide where you are. That's cool. I don't know if I'd pick that, though. Otherworldly Leap. Prerequisite, 9th level. You can cast Jump on yourself at will without expending a spell slot or material components. Jump. You touch a creature, the jump distance is tripled. But this is on yourself at will. So your jump distance is usually calculated by 3 plus your strength score, not your strength modifier. So let's say your strength score is a 12. 3 plus 12 is 15. As long as you have a 10-foot running start, you can jump 15 feet. So that's 25 feet of total movement. This is going to triple that for you. So this will really help you jump a space, jump a chasm, something like that. That's handy. Especially, when you're in the thick of it, right? You're in the dungeon, you're in the place. That could come in handy. I could see using that. Repelling Blast. Prerequisite, you must have Eldritch Blast as your one of your cantrips. When you hit a creature with Eldritch Blast, you push that creature up to 10 feet away from you in a straight line. I love this, especially because if your enemy or your target is standing like within 5-10 feet of a trap or a pit, or they're at the edge of a bridge and you can push them off the bridge or off a roof. Oh, that is delicious. I might consider taking that. Sculptor of Flesh. Prerequisite is you have to be at least 7th level in Warlock. You can cast Polymorph using a Warlock spell slot. You can't do so again until you finish a long rest. I had mentioned that earlier. That's a great option. Polymorph is a spell. You can use it on yourself or a teammate or a target, essentially turning them into a creature. You basically can transform a creature that you can see within range, which is 60 feet, into a new form. An unwilling creature must make a wisdom saving throw to avoid this effect. So if you're trying to target a member of your party who's unwilling or maybe an enemy, the spell has no effect on a shape changer like a doppelganger or a creature that has 0 hit points. The transformation lasts for the duration, concentration for an hour, or until the target drops to 0 hit point or dies. The new form can be any beast whose challenge rating is equal to or less than the target's. This is where having access to D&D Beyond is important, or having a copy of the Monster Manual or Monsters of the Multiverse, because the books with them are going to have animals and creatures and will list them by challenge rating. And that'll make it easy for you. So if your target is of a level 8 or a challenge rating of 9, you can pick something else equal or lower than it to turn it into. I like turning things into funny stuff. Like, I've had an enemy turn a barbarian into a fuzzy little white bunny. I've done things like that. I find that funny. And I won't attack it either. You would think like, well, it's easier to kill now. Okay. But I'd rather leave him a bunny for an hour. What are you going to do? Hop around? I've done that. It was awesome. That was punishment enough. Very good. I love Polymorph. It's a great spell. Sign of Ill Omen, prerequisite, you have to be 5th level Warlock. You can cast Bestow Curse. I mentioned this earlier as well. Using a Warlock spell slot. That's a 3rd level spell requiring concentration for a minute. Essentially, you choose an ability score of your target. And anytime they try to use an ability check or saving throw for that ability score, like let's say you chose Dexterity, they're going to be at disadvantage on ability checks and saving throws for Dexterity for the duration, a minute. That's a long time in combat. While Cursed, the target has, if you don't choose the ability score, here are some of the other options. You can, the target has disadvantage on attack rolls against you, or the target must make a wisdom saving throw at the start of each of its turns. If it fails, it wastes its action doing that turn doing nothing. That's probably a go-to for me. I've done that before. While the target is cursed, your attacks and spells deal an extra 1d8 necrotic damage to the target. And then I think there's another caveat to this spell. A remove curse spell ends this effect. At the DM's option, you may choose an alternative curse effect, but it should be no more powerful than those described above. So can you make something up that's not listed in the spell? Yes, but you need to be realistic in what that is. You saw what's listed in the spell. Try to be equal to at least the effects that are given. Saying I want him to die immediately, that's not going to happen. I'm going to say no, right? Saying something like, hey, can I have him spend his entire turn belching bubbles? Yeah, that's his turn. He's belching bubbles. That's a good curse. All right, so he's going to stand there and burp bubbles for the entire minute. As long as you maintain concentration, great. Just be judicious and fair. Thief of the Five Fates. You can cast Bane once using a Warlock spell slot. Can't do so again until you finish a long rest. Bane is another favorite of mine. I love this one. It's a 1st level spell requiring concentration for a minute. The range is 30 feet, and you can pick up to 3 creatures of your choice that you can see within those 30 feet to make a charisma saving throw. Whenever a target that fails the saving throw makes an attack or saving throw before this spell ends, they got to roll a d4 and subtract the total from their roll. This could potentially turn their attack or saving throw from a success into a failure. Because I love doing that. I love baning something, and then they roll an attack or saving throw, and they're like, does 19 hit? And you're like, ooh, gonna need you to roll that d4. You're baned. And you're like, oh, crap. And they roll a 4 like I just did. Does a 15 hit? No, it doesn't. My armor class is 16. Darn. Like, I love being a jerk like that. This is something I would probably rank really high up. I love Bane. All right. Thirsting Blade. Prerequisite. You must be a 5th level Warlock, and you must have a Pact of the Blade boon at 3rd level. If you got both, you can attack with your pack weapon twice instead of once whenever you take the attack action on your turn. All right, bump that up, S tier. That's top tier. I love that because your Pact of the Blade, you're using weapons. And this is like getting extra attack like any of the fighter classes get. I'm all about that. That's a great choice. Visions of Distant Realms. Prerequisite. You got to be a 15th level Warlock. You can cast Arcane Eye at will without expending a spell slot. That's a 4th level spell, concentration for an hour. You create an invisible magical eye within range that hovers in the air for the duration. You mentally receive visual information from the eye, which has normal vision and dark vision out to 30 feet. The eye can look in every direction. As an action, you can move the eye up to 30 feet in any direction. There's no limit how far away from you the eye can move, but it can't enter another plane of existence. A solid barrier like a wall or a closed door blocks the eye's movement, but the eye can see through an opening as small as an inch. So it can even look through the keyhole, or maybe if there's a gap under the floor, between the door and the floor. That's beautiful. That if you don't have a rogue in your party, Arcane Eye is the way to go because it's invisible. It can stealthily look for traps, look down the hall, see if people are coming. It doesn't need to be within 30 feet of you. It's just you can move it 30 feet at a time. So that is crucial. I would rank that really high up on the list. That's good to have, especially if you don't have a sneaky person in your party to do the snooping around, right? Next we have, I can't scroll down any further, so I'm going to talk you through it. Voice of the Chain Master. The prerequisite for this is just having the Pact of the Chain boon at 3rd level. You can communicate telepathically with your familiar and perceive through your familiar senses as long as you're on the same plane of existence. Additionally, while perceiving through your familiar senses, you can also speak through your familiar in your own voice, even if your familiar is normally incapable of speech. Ooh, that's good. All right. I used to hate on Warlock as a DM, but now I'm like, now that I've been experiencing playing with more Warlocks and seeing some of the options that they haven't chose, I kind of want to play a Warlock. Okay, that's pretty cool. Whispers of the Grave is the next one. The prerequisite for this is you got to be a 9th level Warlock. You can cast Speak with Dead at will without expending a spell slot. In case you don't know, Speak with Dead, it's a spell that lasts for 10 minutes. It's got a range of 10 feet, so you have to be right up near that corpse. But essentially, you can ask the corpse up to 5 questions. The corpse knows only what it knew in life, including the languages it knew. So you're taking a chance on what language they're going to respond to you in and what they know, because you don't know what they know. You might be asking questions that they don't know the answer to. Still worth it, right? Especially if it's like a fresh corpse. Like, who killed you? Why are you here? If you've played Baldur's Gate 3, you know exactly how awesome this spell is. Yeah, I'm all about that. Necromancy spell. Last, we have Witch Sight. This is the last one. Prerequisite for this is being a 15th level Warlock. You can see the true form of any shape changer or creature concealed by illusion or transmutation magic while the creature is within 30 feet of you and within line of sight. Yeah, so if in the campaign where I play a changeling paladin, if word gets out that there's this paladin running around and he's a shape changer and I come across a warlock with witch sight, I'm in trouble. Right? So this is cool, and as a warlock you can pretty much do the same thing. If you're suspicious that somebody you're looking for or an NPC or an enemy is doing something like this, or I could just see it. I could see it playing out. You're meeting with like a dignitary. It's been working with you a long time, but you're kind of just suspicious. You're just like, you know what? I'm going to use my witch sight on them. And then you come to find out that it is like a doppelganger or some kind of like big bad evil guy. What do you do? What do you do? Continue the conversation and then tell your party later on? Like, yeah, I kind of want that. That's called Witch Site. I know you can't see it on my screen. That's the last one. Check your player's handbook. These are all great options to choose from. And the great thing about this is, again, when you look at your Warlock table, you get, as you level, you get more and more of these Eldritch Invocations. So at first level, you don't get any, but you get 2 at 2nd. You get a 3rd one at 5th, a 4th one at 7th, a 5th one at 9th, a 6th one at 12th, a 7th one at 15th, and an 8th one at 18th level. That's how many you can use. And like I said, at each level up, you can swap one of them out for another. Perhaps you just gained that option because of a level prerequisite or whatever, but whew. I kind of want to do a video now building like a 17th or 18th level, 20th level Warlock and like see what we come up with. Maybe we'll do that in a few weeks or so. That's really cool. I'm super into this now. Have fun. You can see why people play Warlock. It is super popular class to play. Have fun building your Warlock, my friends, and we will see you at the table.